Zishan has a nickname called Flatterer. At a young age, she became the CEO of a listed company. A plane crash made her travel through time, and she was still a fake daughter who was wrongly held. $1,000 plan, the adoptive mother didn't care, and her sister.in-law forced her to leave the enviable big city and return to the countryside to become a proud private teacher. Lack of food and clothing in rural areas, and education being a major challenge. Don't be afraid, there's nothing in this world that flatterers can't handle. One round won't work, another round won't work. But why did the fisherman who agreed to refuse marriage come after him again? He is still a rebellious master. Keywords of the novel. After binding to the flattery system, one can make a fortune of billions in the era without pop-ups. After binding to the flattery system, one can make a fortune of billions in the era. Download the complete set of TXT. After binding to the flattery system, one can make a fortune of billions in the era. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Binding a Flatterer System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Binding a Flatterer System. A long river runs through Baodu City, bypassing tall and low buildings and small bridges, rushing into the sea. Some people are washing vegetables and rice by the shore, while others are touching snails on rocks by the water. Suddenly, someone pointed to the stone pier under the bridge and exclaimed, "Look, there's a person floating in the river. The hair is very long, it's a woman. Hey, help someone quickly." A deck barge filled with fish came rushing forward, and the tall man driving at the stern saw many people standing on the shore shouting at him. Stepping out of the cabin and following everyone's fingers, it turned out that someone had fallen into the water, floating next to the bridge pier, with black hair swaying up and down with the waves stirred by the hull. He carefully docked the barge and reached out to grab the man's arm. It was a slender woman, with long black hair scattered haphazardly, covering her eyebrows and eyes. Han Xinghui originally thought it was a stiff corpse, but when he lifted it up, his arms were still soft. The person's dacron dress was wet with water and tightly adhered to his body, revealing every part of his body with delicate details. The waist was so thin that he could even hold it with one hand, and his bare feet and calves were glowing with white skin. Han Xinghui placed the person on the deck, turned his face, and quickly took off his shirt to cover the woman's body. He docked the barge, wrapped the drowning woman in his shirt, propped his hands flat, jumped ashore, and hurriedly ran to the hospital. Running and bouncing, the eyelashes of the person in his arms trembled gently a few times, and the eyeballs trembled slightly under his eyelids. Zishan vaguely felt himself bouncing on the plane, up and down, causing some discomfort in his chest. He couldn't help but spit out a few mouthfuls of water, and Han Xinghui didn't pay attention, only strode towards the hospital. Taking the person to the hospital in one breath and rushing to the emergency room, Han Xinghui sweated profusely and said to the doctor, "Help her." The nurse in the emergency room originally intended to scold Han Xinghui for being so careless and coming to the hospital shirtless. However, she saw that the woman in his hand was wet and covered in a white shirt, probably belonging to Han Xinghui. "What's going on?" "Drowning." Han Xinghui said succinctly, "I don't know her." Originally a hero who saved lives, the nurse's eyebrows and eyes suddenly relaxed. The doctor quickly treated him, and Han Xinghui went to pay the hospitalization deposit. As he didn't know Zishan's name, the doctor asked him to pay according to the hospital bed number. After Han Xinghui paid the money and returned to the ward, Zishan had already woken up. "Just a confusion in my mind. Not long ago, she encountered an air disaster on her way back from a business trip. She thought it would be a disaster, but when she opened her eyes, she found herself being carried down the river by a hidden underwater surge. The desire to survive made her instinctively struggle to rise with all her strength. Before she fainted, a warm big hand pulled her out of the water. When she woke up, in front of her eyes was the grandmother's infusion glass bottle hanging on a wooden pole, dripping liquid. It was a dark yellow latex infusion set, and the tube was thicker than her little finger. There is a strange man standing not far from the bed. That person is tall and robust, with a cold complexion. Sweat drips down his handsome face and onto his strong body. The eyebrows are firm, the shoulders are wide and the waist is narrow. The muscles that give strength are firm and strong, and the broad chest is filled with beads of sweat. Abdominal muscle strips are not the kind deliberately crafted by the gym, but every inch contains a sense of strength. The face, waist, and explosive hormonal aura rushed towards me. She doesn't actually value the face of the opposite sex that much, but this person's face and figure are exactly what she likes. Her hair was still wet, and the hair on her face had been pulled aside by the doctor, revealing her face. Big apricot eyes, small round face, a perky nose, and slightly grayish-white lips soaked in water. Han Xinghui saw her clearly and his pupils slightly narrowed. He saved a very beautiful young lesbian. Han Xinghui saw that people had come to life, thinking that the fishing boat was still drifting along the shore, and hurriedly left without saying a word. Zishan fell into the water during the day and developed a high fever at night, with his body temperature skyrocketing to 40 degrees Celsius. After lying in the hospital bed for 2 days and 2 nights, Zishan finally woke up completely. The enamel jar on the bedside table reads, "Women can hold up half of the sky," and there is a row of green hollow iron shell thermos bottles on the ground. There are 2 open and close glass windows, and each window is sealed with 3 square transparent glass pieces with putty. She suddenly laughed silently. She is a post-.90s white bone spirit, with a smooth sailing journey. At a young age, she became the CEO of a listed company, and anyone who saw her would shout, "Hello Director Su," sincerely. Unexpectedly, on a business trip, her soul pierced a girl with the same name. In 2 days, she had managed to understand the original owner's life. The original owner was a girl who hugged the wrong person in the hospital. The Su family in Baodu City, who had lived for 18 years, were not their biological parents, and their adoptive parents had already recognized their biological daughter Su Zi. However, the original owner despised poverty and wealth, and firmly refused to recognize the poor parents in the countryside. Due to insufficient job rank and room allocation, the eldest brother got married and still lives at home. The family of 6 is squeezed into 2 small rooms of more than 10 square meters in the tube-shaped building. My sister-in-law was about to give birth, and when she saw the sky pointing fingers at her, Su Zi was also at odds with her. She believed that she had been occupying the magpie's nest for 18 years and should have returned it. The sister-in-law and foster mother made a decision to quickly marry off the original owner and make room for the cramped housing in the family. She was born beautiful, and in consideration of maximizing family interests, her foster mother arranged for her to be the youngest son of Han Zhongjin, the director of the Physics Research Institute. The Han family is a millennium-old noble family, and the original owner is happy to finally get out of the predicament. Unexpectedly, after inquiring about it, it turned out that good bamboo sprouts bad bamboo shoots. The youngest son of the Han family, he was a thug from a young age and fought, which angered Han Zhongjin to the hospital. 10 years ago, he was driven back to his hometown in Dongpu district and worked as a fisherman in the town's fishing team. In the 1970s, Dongpu district, to put it better, was a rural area, but to put it worse, in the eyes of people in Shipu district, it was a place of exile. The original owner strongly disagreed. On the day of the blind date, she stood up with the man and was scolded by her sister-in-law for having no conscience. She wanted to move her household registration back to the countryside, but the original owner couldn't bear it and jumped into the river to commit suicide. She died, and the core was replaced by Director Su. "You're a fool." Su Zishan stroked the words on the enamel jar and said with a smile, "Women can hold up half of the sky. She is a flowing CEO and a tough CEO, what are these difficulties?" 1976, hello. The nurse put down the nursing tray she was holding, and her attitude was very unfriendly. "After receiving this bottle of medicine, you can be discharged from the hospital. Zishan was in a good mood and casually gave a string of rainbow farts. Nurse comrade, thank you for taking good care of us these days. You have comforted the patient with care, and your smile is warm like sunshine. Not only is your nursing skills excellent, but your love has also given us courage and confidence. This little girl has a pleasing appearance, and her words of praise carry a strong sweetness of Baodu City. No one doubts her sincerity. Nurses face a group of sickly red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple every day, and their mood is not good. Today, when they hear Zishan's praise, they feel excited and proud of their profession rises from the bottom of their hearts. This is my responsibility, thank you for Comrade Su's recognition. I will serve patients more warmly. The nurse's face rippled with tenderness from the bottom of her heart. Zishan smiled and sighed in his heart, saying that people in this era are really innocent. Suddenly, a mechanical voice rang out in his mind. Ding, congratulations on the host binding the flattery system. Reward host with one personal space. Let me present you with a vintage novel, this time set in the 1970s. This article is a systematic article, and the prize carrier is a portable space with a history. You can explore it slowly. I must hide it well, dear babies, welcome to the pit. Let's start cat and mouse catching. If it's convenient, please help recommend it. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Using flattery within 10 minutes to guide adoptive mothers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Using flattery within 10 minutes to guide adoptive mothers. Zishan opened his eyes, and beside him, besides the silent infusion stand, was the huge shirt, which was very fat and could vaguely smell a special smell of sweat and tobacco. Who is talking? Are you talking to her? Bind a flatterer system because you flatter a nurse. She's just used to boasting casually. What is the flattery system for? The flatterer system uses flattery to tell the world that life is beautiful and that there are things that cannot be solved without flattery. The system randomly publishes tasks. Completing them will earn corresponding rewards. All rewards will be distributed directly to the personal space. Zishan. My task is to flatter people, right? According to the quality and quantity of task completion, open the gates of materials, isolation, compression, storm, and reincarnation in sequence. Bind the system and give away a space, upgrade and reward. Opening the door. Debuting is the pinnacle. Please use flattery to create a harmonious and beautiful life for the host. I seem to have bound a terrible system. Suddenly, a reproach came from the entrance of the ward, interrupting her communication with the system. Shanshan, what did you say you did? His foster mother Zhang Ying'ai pulled her face in. Do you still have the face to jump into the river? What qualifications do you have now to cause trouble? Are you a junior high school graduate or a dancer? How many big characters do you know? Who else is interested in you as a college student? What kind of family is the Han family? The great scientist who returned from abroad was personally received by the chairman. As ordinary people, we all burned high incense, but you stood them up. Zishan, you are really good. Now that you don't have a job anymore, you're staying at home and gnawing on your parents. Even if you have 1 in a million looks, you can't change the fact that your biological parents are from the countryside. Are you still satisfied with marrying into the Han family? She sat on the stool with a thud and became increasingly angry as she spoke. Your sister-in-law is about to give birth, and your second brother is also going back to the city to find a partner. If you don't get married, where will they live? Listening to her repeated accusations, Zishan suddenly smiled. If we want to change the original owner, we're afraid we'll die again, right? She, the white-boned spirit Zishan, in this vast capital city, has only one path in life. Getting married. Marrying a fisherman is enough to thank 8 generations of ancestors. Don't do any more jumping into the river and hanging yourself. There's no such shop in this village. Director Han's youngest son is taking care of the old lady in his hometown, and he will definitely return to Baodu City in the future. When they return to the city, will it still be your turn? Zhang Yingyai has lost any patience. In one sentence, since you haven't died, the marriage of the Han family has to continue, and there is no place to live at home. This is the gift they gave you to the Han family last time I met them. I took the initiative to accept it. If you don't want it, you can return it to the Han family yourself. She took out a pair of dragon and phoenix bracelets from her bag and stuffed them into her hand. Is this considered an engagement gift? You have to agree if you don't agree, right? Auntie, I'm not doing it anymore. I have culture and experience, and I also have a Nayupala's system. Why should I stay at the Su family and be influenced by birds? Ding, please flatter your adoptive mother within 10 minutes. Zishan. Did you intentionally use the system? She really wants to sell me money, and I'm in a hurry to flatter her. I don't want to shoot. Great success in big horse racing, small success in small horse racing. Success is difficult without horse racing, success is achieved immediately. Zishan. MMP. She pinched the exquisitely crafted gold bracelets, smiled, and said to Zhang Yingyai, Mom, there is a poem that says, after putting in all your heart and effort, you will eventually become a child. Pity the hearts of parents all over the world. You only think for your children, and you are a great mother. Zhang Yingyai's angry and complaining words got stuck in her throat, and she looked at Zishan in surprise. After 18 years of raising her in the courtyard of Guanzhou, the daughter of the shrewd and unruly, jumped into the river once and changed her personality. Looking at Zishan's clear black eyes and a charming and likable smile, although Zhang Yingyai's tone was still not good, her attitude was clearly different. Can you understand, Mom? Mom is so pleased. Mom has been holding you in her hands for 18 years. How could she harm you? It's really impossible to ask you to get married. Don't worry, your dowry must be more than Z's. The youngest son of the Han family is indeed a fisherman, but how can the Han family keep him a fisherman? He will eventually return to Baodu City. In the morning, your sister Law contacted the Han family to ask you to get married before the end of the month. I think it's too hasty now, so I have to let you meet with someone before making a decision. Zishan felt a thump in his heart. Grass was so close that he almost got tied up and paid his respects directly. Is this Han family's youngest son tall or short, normal or disabled, and we don't know if he's going to have a wedding. Fortunately, she flattered and turned the tide. Mom, you have walked more bridges than I have walked, and you have eaten more salt than I have eaten rice. You must be accurate in judging people. The flattery continued to output, and the best strategy is to defeat people's soldiers without fighting. Mom, please inquire about the youngest son of the Han family. You are sick and weak. Don't argue with your sister. Law and Z, and don't be afraid of them. This family is still up to Mom. Zishan's sweet mouth made Zhang Yingyai's heart beat hard. Zhang Yingyai pushed out her bicycle and said, Let's go home. Mom, who is the person who saved me? Have you thanked him? Due to nurse rotation, the nurses in the ward and emergency department were not in the same group, and she did not inquire who the lifesaver was. Sugiyama, the person who saved you, left at that time. No one saw you, so don't ask around. In case the other person is a homeless boatman and has a bad reputation for you. Zhang Yingyai was originally eager for that person to die far away, so she saved her gratitude fee. Today, she was in a good mood and stood on Zishan's side, reminding her not to slip her tongue. The urban area that has not been renovated is not as large as it was decades later, and it is only a 10-minute walk from the hospital to the tube-shaped building where the Su family lives. Zishan sat in the back seat of Zhang Yingyai, surveying the newly arrived city. Cars are very rare, mainly bicycles, and pedestrians wear white shirts, black pants, or blue pants when they come into view. The tram dragged 2 long braids through the street, and the ticket seller sat in a dedicated seat, holding a small red flag and extending the car window, banging on the carriage. The huge chimney of Baodu City Tobacco Factory is particularly eye-catching, with red bricks and white letters towering into the clouds. Coal ball stoves can be seen everywhere, with small chalkboards hanging in front of many shops and restaurants, such as, "Arrived today," "XX sold out," "Today's recipe," and so on. In the 1970s, Baodu City was filled with fireworks everywhere. Returning to the building where the Su family lived, Zishan jumped off his bicycle and surveyed the place where the original owner had lived for 18 years. The Su family is in Baodu City, and it's not really a good day. When they were young, a family of 5 were squeezed together in a tube-shaped building of more than 10 square meters, with one room divided into 2. When she was in junior high school, she slept in the same bed as Zhang Ying'ai, and her 2 brothers and Su's father were in the same room. Later on, the eldest brother got married, and Su Zi returned. This family was not even as good as St. Petersburg's Christie prison, and the average person in that place was 4 square meters. Even the air is suffocating. At that time, she longed to marry Meng Xiaochen as soon as possible, live in his relatively spacious house, and no longer have to sleep every day and dare not turn over. Zhang Yingyai was cycling while talking about her childhood memories, while Su Zishan occasionally threw out a string of rainbow farts while looking at the scenery. Zhang Yingyai sighed, wondering if it was her daughter who had been raised for 18 years. She was more intimate than the one who was close, and her heart was unpredictable. When they arrived downstairs from the Su family, Zhang Yingyai said, "Shanshan, you've grown up. Mom gave you the salary you used to have here. You don't have a job now, so you can't have no money on hand." Su Zishan laughed like a little fox. "System, like. Ding, task completed, reward perfect family banquet table, please check carefully." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Using flattery to guide ex-boyfriends within 10 minutes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Using flattery to guide ex-boyfriends within 10 minutes. Completing the task will bring delicious food. A family banquet. Where is it? A green light spot flickered in the darkness, exploding with a bang, as if Pangu had opened up heaven and earth. Suddenly, it lit up in front of me. She was standing in front of an ancient green and gray memorial archway. The memorial archway was solemn, simple, magnificent and gorgeous. There were 4 official script characters, "Luoshan blessed land," at the archway, and a pair of semi-cursive couplets on both sides. First couplet. The world is bright and clear, leaning on a spring of clear waves flowing back and forth. Second line. With refined human relationships, sit and discuss the right and wrong of 10 generations of characters. Passing through the ancient memorial archway, 5 doors lined up in a row, one of which opened, and 4 words emerged. The door of materials. Pushing open the door of the supplies, I was immediately attracted by a luxurious revolving dining table in the yard. Fried, stir-fried, braised and stewed, 10 plates and 10 bowls, exquisite and steaming. The dishes are arranged in layers, with chopsticks, spoons, knives and forks. All in place. Su Zishan's body has not been able to eat and sleep well for several months. Seeing these dishes, he suddenly felt hungry and wanted to jump on and enjoy them. Didi, the honking of the car interrupted her drooling over the delicious food in the space. Su Zishan twisted his face and saw a slender and graceful figure gracefully descending from a white Volga sedan. "Brother Xiaochen, are you here?" Su Zi ran out excitedly, trying to pull Meng Xiaochen's arm, who stood still. "Shanshan, don't commit suicide in the future." Su Zi said empathetically, "I heard that the man who brought you up was a man. Don't say anything about it." "Oh, should I give you a trumpet?" She emphasized on the street that she was being held by a man and wanted to splash dirty water. Want to provoke her to run wild on the street. "Z, shut up." Zhang Yingyai immediately scolded her for not knowing the thoughts of her biological daughter. Meng Xiaochen looked at Su Zishan, who was even more slender than before, with a delicate and cold face. Zishan also examined his former partner without hesitation. He wore gold-rimmed myopia glasses on the bridge of his nose, his facial features were clear and handsome, and he was gentle and refined. This is the man that the original owner has always liked, and the person who has always been devoted to him, looking forward to the night of flowers and candles with him. Because of a performance accident a month ago, I became my ex-partner. The original owner was a dancer from the Municipal Arts and Crafts troupe. During the May Day holiday, the 10,000 Miles of Rivers and Mountains was grandly performed, and she was the lead dancer of this drama. As a result, while she was dancing alone, her costume suddenly cracked. The incident occurred suddenly, and the audience didn't see it clearly. She quickly ran off the stage, but it still caused a commotion on site, and the leaders on site were very angry. The performance accident was rapidly brewing, rising from disrespectful to unethical. Under pressure, the cultural troupe fired Zishan. Meng Xiaochen immediately broke up without hesitation. Brother Xiaochen, someone must have harmed me. Brother Xiaochen, I really didn't show anyone. Her explanation, pleading, and tears were of no use. Before the performance, the dance costumes were kept by the actors themselves. She brought them home before May Day and kept them there. The clothes must have been a problem at home. She had caused trouble before, and Zhang Ying'ai comforted her, saying that she would support her for a lifetime whether she had a job or not. But later on, what happened? She broke up with Meng Xiaochen within 2 weeks, and the Su family publicly announced that Meng Xiaochen and Su Zi were engaged. So, what is he, not spicy chicken? Ah, Pui, Ding, please flatter your ex-boyfriend within 10 minutes and make him feel guilty. Zishan stumbled and said, System, are you serious? He's a scumbag, do I still have to flatter him? Ding, there are still 9 minutes left to complete the task. The first thing she experienced and came back from being reborn was to slap her face, and the system even asked her to flatter a scumbag. Is there no place to use a lot of flattery? Ding, there are still 8 minutes left to complete the task. System, what about your personality? Ah no, where is your personality? Zishan looked at the scumbag and scumbag following behind him, stopped, and suddenly smiled. Meng Xiaochen, although we broke up, we have to admit that there are no more capable young talents on this street than you. You will definitely be able to rise step by step. When Zishan flatters, his language and body movements must be very precise, making it easy for the other person to resonate, and this flattery is no exception. Meng Xiaochen was stunned, it didn't look like Zishan. His first reaction was that Zishan was mocking, and his second thought was that she was digging a pit. But Zishan looked normal, and her praise was sincere. Thank you, he instinctively replied. Thank you, you are already excellent, with outstanding abilities and graceful demeanor. From a heart-to-heart perspective, there are only a few girls who can match you within a radius of 10 miles. Zishan seemed to be talking to a familiar old friend. Many people feel ashamed of themselves in front of you. A sense of superiority that overlooks all living beings naturally arose in Meng Xiaochen's heart. Thank you, I will do my best to help in the future, he said gently to Zishan. I will work hard to serve the people. How can a person have boundless prospects? They must have 3 hearts. Loyalty to the country, respect for elders, and sincerity towards friends and others. You have all 3 qualities. Meng Xiaochen, if you don't succeed, who will succeed? Zishan's flattery was steady and thoughtless, without even a ripple in his voice, as if Meng Xiaochen was that kind of person. There was no need to think about it, just describe it. At this moment, Meng Xiaochen was almost praised, as he felt that he not only had a better appearance than Panin, but also had the highest literary and military skills in the world. He didn't feel at all that Zishan was wearing a high hat for him. Instead, he felt that although Zishan was very flamboyant, he was straightforward and discerning. He feels guilty for treating Zishan like he did before. Su Zi listened to Zishan's flattery and wanted to flatter her, but her mind was empty and she could only suppress the sourness in her heart. She pulled Meng Xiaochen's arm and reminded her, "Brother Xiaochen, you have already broken up." Meng Xiaochen said unhappily, "Is breaking up an enemy?" Su Zi gritted her teeth. Of course, she hoped it would be an enemy, an old enemy who never interacted with each other. Su Zishan walked into the legendary tube-shaped building for the first time. In the dimly lit corridor, various miscellaneous items such as tables, chairs, and coal ball stoves squeezed in, making it difficult to get in. The walls are also covered with various objects, so be careful not to bump your head under your feet. The kitchen and toilet are shared, and a group of people are crowded in the water room, washing clothes in a stone trough like a manger. There was a very unpleasant smell of rapeseed oil and lard mixed in the hallway, and she was about to faint. No, she can't stay in this place for a day. There is a wooden sofa in the living room of the Su family, draped with a pure white sofa towel. There is a folding bed, folding dining table, and some miscellaneous items standing against the wall next to the sofa. Across from the sofa, half a meter apart, is a 5-bucket cabinet, covered with a white cotton crochet tablecloth, with a radio, a round mirror, snow cream, and clam oil on top. There is a large bust of the leader hanging on the wall, with words like long live," written below. From the door to the dining table, with long legs, it can be reached in one step. Squeezing, suffocating. In the era without commercial housing, how many families in Baodu City hastily married off their daughters in order to make room for their sons? In order to fulfill her promise, Zhang Ying'ai immediately withdrew 500 yuan from the 1,100 yuan that Su Zishan had saved in the past 2.5 years and secretly handed it to Su Zishan. She whispered, "Don't let Zi see it." Su Zishan obediently said, "Thank you, Mom." Not long after, the sister-in-law returned from outside with a face full of anger and frustration. The Han family refused. Han Laosan heard that our girl would rather jump into the river than marry him, and he didn't mind marrying him. Is there really no hope? Zhang Ying'ai felt very disappointed in her heart. The energy of the Han family was too great. If they could get married, their lives would definitely not be the way they are now. That person is already rebellious, no one can be his master. It's difficult to ask him to nod again. That's okay, Mom is good, I'm not worried about not getting married. Su Zishan then asked the person designated by the system to take a photo. The sister-in-law's mouth was like a knife, and she said rudely, "I don't care whether you marry or who you marry. If I'm going to have a child, the place must be cleared for me." Su Zishan looked at Zhang Ying'ai and said, "Mom, then I'll go back to my parents in the countryside." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Using flattery to conquer enemies within 10 minutes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Using flattery to conquer enemies within 10 minutes. Shanshan, you can't go to the countryside. It's very difficult in the countryside, and Mom doesn't want you to go and endure hardship. Zhang Ying was in a panic. She gave Su Zishan the money and gave the rural couple a cheap discount. She was beaten to death, but didn't even lose out. The sister-in-law was also annoyed and said, "Mom, are you planning for me to take your grandson to sleep on the street?" Su Zi couldn't suppress her joy. After chasing and blocking for half a year, Su Zishan finally agreed to return to the countryside. Tell her to also sunbathe to black charcoal, and ask her to try. I would rather die in the city than live in the countryside. Only when Su Zishan leaves completely can she be with Meng Xiaochen without any pressure. Mom, just promise Sugiyama to go back. I've already returned to your side, and she should also go back to show filial piety to her parents. Someone has long criticized our family for taking over their daughter. Zhang Ying'ai was morally kidnapped by Su Zi and wished he could slap her. We cannot stop Su Zishan from going back to recognize his family, otherwise it will spread and affect her and Su's father's work. Sugiyama, if you want to go to the countryside and have a look, you can come back in a few days. This year's temple fair is reopening, and there is also a national sports meet to be held, which must be very lively. Zhang Yingyai said this and thought to herself, hurry up and beg the Han family again in the next few days to marry Su Zishan right away. Shanshan, there is a bus from Shipu district to Shipu town at 3 p.m. If you go over now, you can catch it. My sister.in.law wanted her to leave immediately. Mom, then I'll leave now. After being hospitalized for 2 days, her bed was occupied by her sister.in.law. However, she was very happy in her heart. With the help of Su Zi and sister.in.law, her foster mother was 100% willing to let her leave properly. Give Zishan more money. Life in the countryside is very difficult. I will give out my half-year prize this month, and then I will give some to my family. Meng Xiaochen felt guilty for helping Su Zishan speak for the first time. His mother thought Su Zi was a college student, but the Han family helped to get Su Zi's quota for the workers, peasants and soldiers' college, just hiding it from Su Zishan. I definitely want to bring some money to Shanshan, Zhang Yingyai said vaguely, trying to save face for Meng Xiaochen in front of Su Zi and his sister.in.law. He grabbed a few grain vouchers and handed them to Su Zishan, saying, Shanshan, we are facing difficulties at home. You can take these for now. After a while, I will give you some salary. Mom is diligent and frugal in managing the family, which is the most caring thing for our children in this courtyard. Thank you. Su Zishan knew from the bottom of his heart that if it weren't for a round of flattery, Zhang Yingyai would not have given money, probably not the Han family, and would have immediately handed her over to the Zhang and Li families. I don't know what's going on, but Meng Xiaochen watched her happily holding those few food tickets and flattering her foster mother, feeling an indescribable feeling in his heart. Su Zishan carried a shoulder bag and walked out. Zhang Yingyai personally delivered it, and Meng Xiaochen followed behind to see it off. Ding, please flatter and guide Su Zi within 10 minutes to make the host more popular in front of the 4 people. The direct and indirect perpetrators who forced the original owner to death are all present, while Su Zi's goal is to destroy herself. How do you ask her to take pictures of such people? However, if she were to have her own personality, she wouldn't be a flowing CEO and a tough CEO. She stopped and said seriously to Su Zi, who was overjoyed, Su Zi, our mother loves her children the most in this courtyard, and Meng Xiaochen is a synonym for excellence. You have both the present and the future all at once. Who wouldn't envy you as a female comrade on this street? This flattery in front of her adoptive mother and ex-boyfriend made Zhang Yingyai and Meng Xiaochen feel like they were eating honey. Zhang Yingyai said, Shanshan, if you can't get used to living in the countryside, come back. Mom will figure out a way. Meng Xiaochen immediately said, if you have any difficulties, send a telegram. Su Zi was hit by flattery. At first, she was confused, but now she is resentful. This horse is not a compliment to her, it is clearly sending honey to the 2 people next to her. She didn't have the same composure as Su Zishan, and immediately gritted her teeth and blurted out, fox spirit. Meng Xiaochen looked at her coldly, with such a heart that even wearing a dragon robe didn't look like a crown prince. Ding, task completed. Reward the host with 10 milliliters of Lingquan liquid and 1 attacking vine. There is an additional small bottle in the space that looks like an oral liquid. A small seedling immediately came to mind at the gate of supplies. Please confirm if there is a plant attack, Su Zishan. What does it mean? To treat others in their own way, please use Lingquan liquid to irrigate the young seedlings of Tribulus terrestris vine. She consciously moved the small bottle and poured the liquid onto the roots of the seedlings. I saw the young seedlings explode like fireworks, growing rapidly and becoming lush and sturdy vines in just a few seconds. The sharp spikes and stems and leaves formed a terrifying ghost face, which was terrifying. It looks like the combat power is on the charts. She will make concessions to Zhang Yingyai because she has raised the original owner. But Meng Xiaochen and Su Zi are nothing. If she beats these 2 scumbags, she is willing. Take revenge immediately if you can. She's not a gentleman, 10 years is really too late. The child on the first floor planted a bouquet of roses and climbed vigorously on the branches and pillars. Suzy hurriedly walked down and was caught in the skirt by the bouquet of rose vines. She tugged a few times, unable to move, and shouted, "Brother Xiaochen, help me." Meng Xiaochen was annoyed because there were thorns on the rose vine, so he pulled on Suzy's blodgey. Who knew that blodgey had been torn open by him? Not only did it break, but it also cracked to the bottom. The shoulders continued to crack below the waist, and the skin was scratched with blood by the vines. Her skin is black, and the white clothes inside stand out against the backdrop of black skin and red blood. The neighbors living in the tube-shaped building have 5 or 6 people coming out of each door, and the 7-story square building has only a much larger audience than the theater. The first reaction from everyone was really black, followed by really small. "Woo-woo, why are you pulling so hard?" Suzy was both shy and angry, futilely using her hands to block the view on her chest, which made her cry and shout at Meng Xiaochen. Meng Xiaochen was also very angry and shouted, "Don't you have long eyes when you walk?" Zhang Ying'ai was originally focused on Pua Su Zishan and continued to listen to herself. When she heard Meng Xiaochen scolding Suzy, she turned her face and saw that Suzy was actually naked. Angry and anxious, she cursed Suzy as dying and quickly grabbed a neighbor's bedsheet to wrap around Suzy, taking a pair of scissors to cut the vines. As Zhang Ying'ai approached with scissors, the branch shuddered and took off Suzy's clothes. When the branch bounced back, it also fiercely slapped Meng Xiaochen's face. The branches with thorns pulled Meng Xiaochen's glasses away, and his face suddenly swelled with a long and thick scar. Meng Xiaochen never expected to suffer such an unforeseeable disaster. He glared angrily at the rose, and for some reason, he saw a gloomy ghost face. Meng Xiaochen's scalp tingled and he took several steps back. In the distance, he found his glasses. One of the lenses was already broken. He put on his glasses and examined the rose again. There was no ghost face, it must be blurred. Tribulus vine returns to space. Su Zishan stood at the entrance and silently gave a thumbs up to the system. He treated others with his own way and did a great job. Ding task completed, reward a table of pastries. Su Zishan. System, you are the most knowledgeable intelligent system in the system novels that I stay up late to read. Momda, the system received praise and rewarded a table full of Manchu and Han people. The host has overcome themselves and must reward Su Zishan. I don't want to flatter either. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. If you don't agree, you will receive an award, which has spoiled my system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. If you don't agree, you will receive an award, which has spoiled my system. Let's go. Zhang Ying'ai was busy taking care of Suzy and Meng Xiaochen. Su Zishan saw with his own eyes that the thorn vine had caused a bad breath of anger to the original owner, and Baodu City's worries were finally settled. Today's scene will become a thorn in the hearts of those two people, and she will live her life well in the future. Coming out of the tube tower and looking at the group of bicycles enjoying themselves on the street, she suddenly felt a bit dazed. Due to the serious unfamiliarity with this era, sudden freedom can be both relaxed and helpless. She cannot do trade, work relies on allocation, housing relies on qualifications, she needs tickets to dress and eat, she needs a letter of introduction to go out, and going to college relies on recommendations. The only way the Su family can give her is to get married. At present, Baodu City is a chicken rib for her. She has to go back to the countryside of Shipu town, where her biological parents are her home and her place of belonging. After leaving the Su family, Su Zishan took a bus to the department store and bought 2 bags of milk candy, a military shoulder bag, and a stainless steel match gun. She has 2 younger brothers, the eldest is 14 years old and the youngest is 10 years old. This gift is the best for them. In the first half of the year, when she recognized her parents, both of them came along. At that time, Zhang Ying'ai didn't let her original owner go. Can raising her in the city be the same as raising her in the countryside? Sujijai can sing and dance, but if he can make money, it's time to get married. Why should he give it to rural people for free? The adoptive mother kept instilling in the original owner how difficult it was in the countryside. Su Zi described the countryside as a human hell, and the rural parents were just skin scraping. The original owner was frightened and refused to recognize their biological parents even in death. In the end, the parents accepted the idea that if they loved their child, they wanted her to live a better life. They cried and left, leaving behind a new set of clothes and giving her 50 yuan and 20 pounds of food stamps. Relatives in Shipu town are honest people, and Director Su cannot let honest people suffer losses. It takes 3 hours by bus from Baodu City to Shipu town, and there is also a need to take a taxi. Having bought his ticket and there was still quite some time before the departure, Su Zishan left the station and walked to a secluded corner next to him. She needs to enter her personal space to see the prize. Passing through the dark grey ancient memorial archway, I found 5 gates in total. In addition to the material gate I saw in front, the other 4 gates were tightly closed, and the nameplates were confused. I can't see them clearly. It is estimated that they can only be opened after upgrading. Pushing open the material gate, there is an endless field on the left, rows of neatly arranged warehouses and yards on the right, and the main road below is facing a villa with bright windows. In front of the villa is the table full of Han people. Next to it is a perfect family dinner and a table of fancy dim sum. Sitting at the luxurious dining table, she felt very happy in her heart. Even though she had eaten countless delicacies in her past life, she had never had the experience of eating 108 dishes at once. In front of her was a cup of Longjing bamboo fungus soup, as gentle and elegant as a young girl from Jiangnan, with a fragrant aroma. She picked up a spoon and took a sip, which was tender and delicious, enjoying it like an emperor. The food is a top-notch delicacy, and the system is a reliable one. Eat and drink enough, continue to investigate. There is a dry water pool in the yard, with a lotus platform in the center and a spring eye on the lotus petals. There is a drop of spring liquid hanging on it, like a tear, crystal clear, as if it is falling but not falling. Ding, please use flattery to awaken the spiritual spring and irrigate the space plants. It's truly a flattering system, flattering everywhere. She reached out to pick up the drop of spring water, smelled it, and praised, this spring water is sweet, fragrant, and transparent, making people feel refreshed and happy. It instantly cuts off the thread of troubles. You must be the sweetest, strongest, and most healing spiritual spring water in the world. It's a pity that it has stopped flowing. Before I could finish speaking, I saw the color around the spring eye darkening, the lotus petals slowly moistening, and the spring eye began to drip water. The clear and sweet spring water jumped out happily, and in no time, half a basin of water accumulated. Not only do people love to wear high hats, but all things in the universe are delighted to receive them. There was a water gourd by the pond, and for some reason, when she picked it up, she felt a bit dazed. She always felt that it was very familiar and had a kind of tacit understanding with her soul. Strange, how could a water ladle make her so moved? Probably too convenient. After filling up the Lingquan liquid, I stepped into the bare field, where the lush thorny vines had already occupied a large area with a radius of 20 meters. And only then did she realize that all the seedlings in the field were covered in eerie faces. Because the thorn vine helped her teach the scumbag a lesson, she had a good impression of the mischievous young seedlings and was not afraid at all. Watering and praising one by one. The watered seedlings grow taller than her in half a minute. A grimace in a space. Ding, task completed. Rewards include a variety of plant communities. Seeds can take root and sprout in the external environment, resulting in fruiting. Fruits can freely enter and exit the storage area. The system's prompt did not reassure her. These funny faces were so stimulating that she had to see the seed results with her own eyes. There were not many pedestrians at noon, so she crawled out of space and still returned to the place where she had entered. No one noticed her disappearing out of thin air and saying, "I'm back again. System, give me a chili seed." In a flash, Zishan felt cold in his hand, and in his palm lay a pale yellow seed as big as a mantu. From the structure of the seed, it is indeed a chili seed. Flat circular, light yellow, with a vibrant luster emanating from the embryo, endosperm, and seed coat. Just, who has ever seen such a big chili seed? She carefully threw it among the trees, about to dig a pit and turn 2 drops of spring water to irrigate it, when she saw the dropped seeds quickly take root and burrow into the soil, and a small green seedling emerged. Visible to the naked eye, growing up to 1 meter high, the stem is as thick as an arm, and the 2 leaves are fat and thick. It didn't bloom or bear fruit, but instead grew a barrel-like thing on its head. In short, he is a chili pepper shooter. In a moment, the chili pepper shooter trembled all over, suddenly shooting 1 chili pepper after another towards the front, like a bidding gun, and then firing a full sack of chili peppers. Those chili peppers are as big as ox horns, fresh and green with a sweet aroma, and have the same appearance as the chili peppers on the market, but they are bigger and sweeter than usual. The bullet was gone, and the chili shooter stopped shooting. It quickly turned yellow and withered, turning into a bunch of dry firewood, as if there had never been a plant called the chili shooter here before. She placed her hand on the pile of chili peppers, and everything on the ground disappeared in an instant. All the chili peppers were quietly piled up in a storage yard at the material gate. Zishan now understands that her material door requires her to put in the wisdom of flattery, as well as the labor of watering and sowing, in order to reward and produce various materials, rather than simply getting something for nothing. The gate of materials is not just a typical countryside, but a production and storage area that can be infinitely enlarged. Zishan was overjoyed and once again praised the system, saying, "System, you must be the most powerful system in this universe." The system received praise and rewarded 2 laying hens. "I have never seen such a considerate system before. I feel so embarrassed that you are so polite." The system received praise and rewarded 2 laying ducks. "I'm just a habitual flatterer." Coming out of the small park, with more than 10 minutes left before the departure, she fanned herself with a handkerchief in the waiting room, waiting to board the bus. Suddenly, his gaze was caught by a tall and muscular man. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I make money to take my daughter-in-law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I make money to take my daughter-in-law. He came in from outside and stood at the door against the light, blocking all the light. He couldn't see his face clearly, only feeling a fierce aura-like substance, pressing waves towards the room. Following his gaze, Zishan saw a young man walking out of the waiting room tightly against a middle-aged man. When the young man walked to the door, the person made way for them on the side, and their eyes collided. The young man still followed the middle-aged man step by step and walked out. A few seconds later, the person was about to leave quietly. As he turned around, the outside light shone on his face, and Zishan recognized it at first glance. This person is the man she first saw when she woke up in the hospital. What is he doing? Cadres. Not like that. Even if he was wearing a white shirt, he couldn't exude a refined and gentle temperament. Instead, he looked like a wild beast trapped in a cage, and the wild desire to break through would burst out every minute. Zishan's scrutinizing gaze was too focused and straightforward. He quickly noticed Zishan, his eyelids hanging for a moment, as if unintentionally scanning her. He stopped his gaze and turned around before leaving. Zishan thought of the big shirt in his space and quickly chased after it. "Excuse me, comrade." She smiled very politely and appropriately. "May I ask, what were you doing at Ruishin Hospital on the 26th? Did you leave anything behind at the hospital?" May 26th was her first day wearing it. She felt that the big shirt matched his figure very well. Han Xinghui glanced at her twice and knew she was confirming whether he had saved her. I won't be in Baodu on the 26th, he denied calmly. Why are you asking this? She was 1 meter away from him, and the unstoppable hormonal aura on his body, like a rapidly spreading fog, immediately surrounded her. Probably due to running in the sunlight, sweat beads hung on his face, flowing down his cheeks like a stream, and a special scent of sweat glands lingered at the tip of her nose. Zishan met his deep eyes, feeling a bit uneasy. Have we met before? Han Xinghui asked. I'm really sorry, maybe I made a mistake. The person denied it, maybe they made a mistake. So, who exactly does that shirt belong to? The ticket inspector was shouting with a small loudspeaker, tickets are starting to be checked for Shipu town. She quickly lined up to board the train. Now, if she takes the train, she doesn't follow the number, and all seats are on a first-come, first-served basis. Han Xinghui saw her enter the ticket gate and turned around to leave. Riding his bike back to the courtyard, his father Han Zhongjin was not at home. The security guard Xiaoyu happily helped him support his bike and said, Han can come back tomorrow. Han Xinghui said to himself, I'm leaving tonight. Old San, look at these 2 muddy feet, my new carpet. Cheng Yanqiu looked at the new carpet with 2 almost 1 foot long muddy footprints stepped on, and painfully pushed him to change his shoes before entering. Han Xinghui threw off his release shoes, barefoot, put on the big slippers brought by Cheng Yanqiu, stepped half of his heel on the outside of the shoes, and then walked in again, sitting on the sofa chair. Didn't you say to go back the day before yesterday? Cheng Yanqiu looked at her youngest son, both happy and surprised. Han Xinghui didn't say why he didn't go back, but only said to Cheng Yanqiu, Mom, give me some tickets. What tickets do you want? How much do you want? Cheng Yanqiu said, taking out a leather bag with many layers, each layer containing different types and denominations of tickets. The superiority of the Han family is unimaginable to the Su family. The Han family's residence is a 3-story independent small building, like a garden villa, with several guards outside to protect it. Han Zhongjin's monthly salary, allowance, and bonus add up to about 500 yuan, and all kinds of tickets are sufficient for use. His son doesn't even need home subsidies. Han Xinghui rarely comes back. Today, when she asked for something, Cheng Yanqiu immediately took out her wallet without counting and handed it to him. Do you think this is enough? Han Xinghui counted and found over 5,000 yuan in cash, over 300 kilograms of national grain coupons, and a total of about 30 zhang of accumulated cloth coupons. Why do we have so many tickets in our family? Unlike stamps and money, cloth tickets have a time limit and become invalid upon expiration. Even if Han Zhongjin is a research expert, it is impossible to issue a 30 zhang cloth ticket per year. Cheng Yanqiu said that the clothes used to be very new and sturdy, so there was no need to buy new clothes. Clothes and tickets were not needed, so they were lent to others. Others would return the latest ones for the next year. As soon as they were borrowed and exchanged, there would be so many over the years. Meat tickets, pastry tickets, and various purchase tickets are all from the local area of Baodu City, and Han Xinghui thought about it and also took some. Cheng Yanqiu looked at him taking so much and felt strange. Why are you taking so much? The village is facing difficulties, help others. It's very difficult in the countryside. Each person only gets 3 or 4 feet of cloth tickets a year, and 2 people can make 1 piece of clothing together. Don't be too generous either, others misunderstand us for making special things. Cheng Yanqiu reminded him, I made a few clothes for you, take them with you, don't be sloppy all day. Han Xinghui let out a nonchalant hum. As a fisherman, why is he dressed so well? Working bareback is the most efficient way. After flipping through the wallet for a while, I didn't see a bicycle ticket. It's normal for my family not to have one. The old man has a special car, so we don't need a bicycle at home. Cheng Yanqiu didn't know that he had already planned to leave immediately in his heart. He happily said, Xinghui, you can go back and discuss with the old lady and come back to Baodu City. Besides, I don't want to see the old man. You two gentlemen, sigh, they are both too stubborn and unwilling to let go. It has been 10 years, and Han Xinghui can count the number of times he has returned with just one hand. When he left, he was not much taller than her, and now he is 1.9 meters tall. Cheng Yanqiu thought of his inexplicable worry and discomfort while fishing at sea, and advised, your dad knows you're filial, but he just refuses to admit defeat. Alright, Mom, I'm leaving. In a few days, Han Jin will come up to deliver the fish. You can ask Xiaoyu to pick it up. Han Xinghui listened quietly to his mother, but he didn't interrupt. After Cheng Yanqiu finished speaking, he finished smoking half a cigarette and stood up to leave. Han Xinghui knew that his father loved to eat small-eyed hairtail fish from the East China Sea. He would occasionally send in a batch of large hairtail fish that he personally caught, with a width of 4 fingers or more. It is said that the old lady asked for it to be given to Cheng Yanqiu and his sister. Law, but in fact, it was given to Han Zhongjin to satisfy his craving. Cheng Yanqiu couldn't stop him. She looked at her son's long eyelashes covering his deep eyes, feeling a bit anxious. At 26 years old, she hadn't decided on a date yet, so she went straight to being a bachelor. Xinghui, Fang Shuiying has been assigned to a newspaper after graduation, but she hasn't decided on a partner yet. I see what she means, but she still misses you. There are so many women who care about me, who says I attract people to be rare. Is there still something rare left to attract people? Don't you know I'm in a hurry? Now that marriage is free, don't think about matching households and taking care of everything. Cheng Yanqiu actually really likes Fang Shuiying from the bottom of her heart. She is beautiful and well-behaved. When she was a child, she always adhered to Han Xinghui. Later, when Han Xinghui went to the countryside, Fang Shuiying even requested to cut in line at Yansang town. Later, I didn't know what my stubborn son had done. Fang Shuiying's family got a recommended spot for a university, and she went back to the city to attend a university. She was assigned to work at a newspaper, and there were very few people from home. Mrs. Su came to contact us today, take a look. Forget it. Han Xinghui said indifferently, don't worry, do I feel like I'm lacking women? As soon as she said these words, Cheng Yanqiu felt a headache again and said, you. Han Xinghui stuffed his wallet into his big pants pocket and said, Mom, I'm going back to earn money to take care of my wife. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Must marry her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Must marry her. Zishan got on the car and there were no more seats left, so she had to stand with the back of someone else's seat. The luggage rack is filled with net bags, baskets and even buckets, filled with canned sardine and malt milk. Under the seats and in the aisle, there are various strange-shaped luggage piled up, making it difficult to get a foot in the entire carriage. The accompanying ticket seller checked the ticket again and the car left Baodu City bus station with a beep. The scenery outside the window quickly retreated, and people kept waving to get on the car. The people who got on later put their large luggage on the roof of the car. After leaving the city, tractors and livestock occasionally pass by on the asphalt road, and cars cannot drive fast, constantly honking sharply. The people in the fields are sweating profusely, and now it is the season of double grabbing. Both adults and children are busy working in the fields. Everything is very different from the 21st century. In her past life memories, there is still a month before the final exams, and parents are not willing to delay their children's studies. She enthusiastically praised the ticket seller and driver, and even the sister. Law beside her, who was carrying 2 chickens and a stool, received a high hat. The driver flew up happily, and the ticket seller happily gave her the ticket seller's seat. Comrade, please sit down. I've been selling tickets and collecting money, but I can't sit still anyway. Zishan smiled with 8 small white teeth, and said softly, thank you to the good ticket seller who served the people wholeheartedly. Everyone moved their belongings aside and in the cramped carriage, they managed to make enough space for Zishan. This adorable little girl's skin, don't squeeze it out, don't get your clothes dirty. Military casual attire is the dream of all young people in this era. When she got off the Shipu town station, her military casual attire immediately caused a sensation. It looks great, the military uniform is brand new. It must be from the city, it's really beautiful. Song Haiyang rode Honda's 6-cylinder engine CBX 1000 motorcycle and was surrounded by several brothers as he walked out of the post office. At a glance, he saw Zishan, who had just got off the road. Tall and curvy, with picturesque eyebrows and eyes, shining white. With just one glance, Song Haiyang was certain that this person was the light he must pursue in his lifetime. Surprised, excited, and sweating in his palms, he pointed at Zishan and blurted out, "I must marry her." The brothers have never seen such a beautiful girl before. The boss said that if they want to marry her, she must be their sister. In law. Everyone was very excited, rubbing their hands and crowing around. Han Dongqing couldn't help but whistle loudly. Please flatter street thugs within 10 minutes and make them feel ashamed to be hooligans. Zishan was discerning the direction, and upon hearing this task, he noticed that 4 or 5 young people were all walking towards her like they had been given aphrodisiacs. These young people roamed the streets and alleys, being seen as small hooligans by the local people. Watching them come over, the vendor and vegetable farmer kept their voices quiet, silently reciting that they couldn't see me like quails. But Zishan was not afraid. Compared to the hooligans in Baodu City, these few were just vegetable chickens. "Comrade, where are you going?" Song Haiyang didn't rush directly to her and said a few words. He stood 2 meters away from her, pretending to be gentle. Zishan said confidently, "Comrade, are you familiar with Shipu town?" "I know every nook and cranny in Shipu town." Song Haiyang played with his eye-catching motorcycle, his mind flashing with the scene of him driving her for no reason. Han Dongqing immediately said, "My older brother's name is Song Haiyang, my father is the director of the Public Security Bureau, my mother is the director of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, and my older brother is a postal worker." Song Haiyang grinned wide and looked at Zishan proudly. In Shipu town, his family's conditions were secure, and he was able to dominate the world. Zishan smiled and praised, "Wow, others like you are still gnawing on your parents at your age. You are already a national cadre, really amazing. You must be a young leader and a good role model in Shipu town." Hee. Song Haiyang rubbed his nose, either being praised for his good family background or being praised for his handsome appearance. Zishan's tall hat suddenly made him feel a little embarrassed. He hasn't been rated as advanced yet, how could she think so well? "Comrade, you are a postman. You must know where Suingjia's family lives, right?" Song Haiyang's whole body was radiant with the radiance of the Holy Father, and he enthusiastically said, "The courtyard on the street by the mountain is the 3rd house from the left. Shall I take you there?" "Thank you, Comrade Song, for your enthusiasm. Your father is the director of the Public Security Bureau, and you are a postal worker. You are familiar with the corners of the town, and you are the guardians of Shipu town." Zishan praised him from his ideological consciousness. This is a wise choice. Not only are they unfamiliar with each other, but when faced with a group of thugs, we cannot praise him for his good family background, handsome appearance, or even his cool motorcycle. Otherwise, this guy would think Zishan is interested in him. Han Dongqing shouted, "Sister-in-law, take big brother's motorcycle, hurry." Zishan's smiling face suddenly pulled down and said sternly, "Comrade Song and his family are all cadres serving the people. You openly played hooliganism and wanted to trap the Song public security forces in injustice." Han Dongqing didn't expect Zishan to label him as a rogue and even go online to accuse him of framing the Song family for injustice. He was so scared that he quickly explained to Song Haiyang, "Boss, that's not what I meant." Song Haiyang was praised like Zishan, how could he act like a hooligan? He now wants to establish a young model image in front of her. A slapped Pan Dongcheng and cursed, go aside. This female comrade, you're going to Su Yingjia's house, I'll show you the way. Thank you, I'll just go by myself. Goodbye. Song Haiyang wanted to give up but was unwilling. He was afraid that Su Zishan would dislike him when he caught up, and he couldn't control his own feet. He couldn't help but secretly follow behind to see who this female comrade was from Su Yingjia. He followed, and those brothers didn't want to be lonely either, they followed together. Su Zishan heard the intermittent thud sound of the motorcycle and knew that Song Haiyang and his group were following her. If we don't teach it a lesson, being followed by thugs in rural areas can lead to a bad reputation. Su Zishan. Caltrip Vine, block him. With a loud thud, the motorcycle wheel was entangled by a clump of protruding vines, and Song Haiyang fell to the ground, with golden flowers in his eyes and birds chirping wildly. He was so angry that he cursed angrily, who planted this thistle? Cut it off, it must be cut off. It hurts me so much. Su Zishan smiled and walked quickly. Ding, task completed, reward 1 attacking bloodthirsty vine. Oh ho, cool my vine. Shipu town is not big, and Su Yingjia's house is on a small street behind the street. Su Zishan looked curiously at this large courtyard. A circle of stone houses, surrounded by a square courtyard, containing about 10 households. As the sun set, half a tongue extended and licked the horizon until it turned crimson. The chimneys of each household began to slowly sprinkle green clouds. Many children inside and outside the courtyard are playing wildly, and seeing her is very rare. Stop making noise. Who are you looking for? A child boldly asked. May I ask if Su Yingjia's home is here? The child answered loudly, here, and ran into the yard, shouting loudly, Shen Mama, there's a woman looking for you. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Devil's little brother has a bad temper. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Devil's little brother has a bad temper. Shen Yakin came out of the room and looked at Su Zishan standing at the door, like a tall poplar tree. The basin in his hand fell to the ground with a loud bang. Sujijai. Why did you come? He asked incredulously. Su Zishan searched for memories. This delicate and timeless beauty is her biological mother. Two boys ran out of the room and looked at her in surprise. The big one is wearing an old vest with a slightly floral collar, while the small one is wearing patched pants. She guessed these were two younger brothers. Su Zi said that her younger brother had an extremely bad temper and was a pervert. She took a special look and felt a shock in her heart. At the age of 10, with a height of approximately 1.4 meters, long and messy hair, and a thin and weak body, despite being very young, dressed in tattered clothes, the exquisite facial features have the absolute capital of a demon. However, the darkness rolled in both eyes, filled with a plethora of darkness. How could a child have such cold and dark eyes? Ding, please flatter Su Mingxing within 3 months and let him understand that life is beautiful. Su Zishan. All other tasks take 10 minutes. Did you take on the most difficult task as soon as you arrived at the Su family? 3 months of continuous flattery. Is this child so difficult to turn around? What are you doing here? Looking at her, my younger brother Su Mingxing said with a strange expression, as if he was looking at a virus. This place is poor, and if you want to search, there's not a drop of oil or water. Hello little brother. Su Zishan originally intended to take out the gift, but decided to pack it into the space and hide it for now. She ignored her two younger brothers and looked at Shen Yakin with red circles around her eyes, saying, Mom, my daughter is back. The office director not only wears high hats, but also has excellent acting skills. Acting appropriately can make life better. Today is Sunday, and most of the people in the yard, whether they are eating commodity grains or farming, are at home. Seeing the Su family bringing back their wrong biological daughter, everyone was happy for Shinyakin and cursed the hospital for being a jerk and neglecting their duties. Since you two recognized each other, your mother's eyes have been crying blind. Grandma Hu in the yard sighed and said, when Xiaoli left, she took all the money from home. This family is so poor that even mice are unwilling to visit. Shinyakin choked and interrupted Grandma Hu, saying, Auntie, stop talking. We owe her. What do you owe? Granny Hu said angrily, everything at home is tight for her to use. Even if you find your biological mother, there's no need to be so extreme. They held their heads in tears, and everyone in the yard came out to comfort them. A middle-aged man in his 40s, who looked like a cadre, said to Su Mingsheng, your sister is back. I have a bag of cake at home, come and take it. Su Mingsheng didn't say he wanted to, but turned his face and entered the room. Zishan, have you come back? Su Yingjie asked in a trembling voice, feeling both happy and surprised. He sat in a recliner with a board on his lap. Su Yingjie is too thin, like a skin skeleton. In my memory, although he wasn't fat a few months ago, he wasn't so thin and weak. The reason behind this can be easily understood. Unconsciously choking up, he said, what's wrong with your leg? Su Yingjie looked at her and saw that there was no resistance or domineering behavior from a few months ago. Feeling ashamed, he suddenly gained the upper hand and said, Dad accidentally fell, and it will be better in a few days. It's not that neither you nor Su Xiaoli recognize this family, but our dad feels uncomfortable and fell off the workbench and broke it, Su Mingsheng said rudely. After the spring festival, Su Xiaoli caught a cold and had a high fever, which had subsided. Suddenly, she said to Su Yingjie and Shinyakin, I am not your child. I was born in the wrong hospital. My biological parents are Su Chongqing and Zhang Ying'ai from Baodu City. Su Yingjie and Shinyakin were like a bolt from the blue, so they had to accompany her to Baodu City to find the Su family. Although more than 17 years had passed, Shinyakin still recognized Zhang Ying'ai at first glance, who was originally in a delivery room. Without any proof, Su Xiaoli is not her own daughter, because she looks just like Su Chongqing. They also saw Su Zishan, and at that moment Shinyakin's face was filled with tears. This was their daughter. Su Zishan was at least 7 times like her when she was young, standing out in front of Su Chongqing's group of children. However, both daughters were unwilling to return to Shipu town and wanted to stay in Baodu City, treating them as beggars. A family reunion. The Su family in Baodu City had 2 daughters, and the Su family in Shipu town was in vain. Returning from Baodu City to Shipu town, Su Yingjie remained silent and lost his mind. He stepped out of the 5-meter-high worktable and fell onto the concrete floor, not only causing his head to bleed, but also breaking his leg. Everyone in the courtyard lives nearby without any secrets, knowing that both daughters find Su Yingjie's family poor and do not recognize them. Shinyakin and Su Yingjie fell seriously ill, and Su Yingjie's legs are still unable to move. But these things, he didn't want to tell Su Zishan, nor did Shinyakin. They didn't want to add any worries to their daughter. If my daughter is willing to come back and take their lives, I will also give it. After a while of persuasion, the neighbors all went home before they reunited. They couldn't keep following. Shinyakin felt happy in her heart, wiped away her tears, and said to Su Yingjie and Su Zishan, you guys talk first, I'll go weigh some meat. Su Yingjie nodded, his eyes slightly flickering as he looked at Shinyakin. Shinyakin pulled Su Mingsheng outside the door and whispered a warning. The mother and son didn't know what to say, but Su Mingsheng kicked a stool away with a loud bang and said gloomily, I won't go. Entering the room and closing the door, Shinyakin couldn't come out no matter how much she shouted. She said helplessly, this child, stubborn donkey. As early as Su Yingjie looked at Shinyakin's awkward gaze, Su Zishan immediately understood. She went to the door and handed the things she had brought to Shinyakin, saying, Mom, I brought some vegetables when I came. 2 laying hens, a pile of chili peppers. Shinyakin said with shame, you son, what gift do you bring home? I'll buy some glutinous rice noodles to make a dim sum. Su Yingjie originally thought that he had not seen Su Zishan for 18 years, and they must not have had any common language, but there was none at all. Su Zishan is the director of the CEO's office, and in her interactions, unless she deliberately does, she will never remain silent. Talking about the weather, customs, food and Shipu town's family. Shen Yakin bought glutinous rice flour from outside, and both father and daughter started to talk about how to make money for the brothers to marry. In all these years, Shen Yakin has never seen Su Yingjie so happy. Su Zishan doesn't know how to cook rural cookstoves, but Shen Yakin doesn't ask her to do it. Su Zishan said to Su Mingxian, "Big brother, take me to the nearby department store to take a look." Su Mingxuan's face turned red and he said, "There are no department stores in town, only supply and marketing cooperatives. Then take me for a walk around the street." Su Mingxian quickly glanced at Su Zishan without saying a word or moving. "Shopping. Be poor, Mingxian, accompany your sister. Yakin, bring some money for the child." Shen Yakin's eyes drifted away again and he said to Su Zishan, "Shanshan, please wait for me for a while and immediately ask your brother to take you to play." When Su Zishan saw Shen Yakin go out, she immediately grabbed Su Mingxian and whispered, "Let's go." Su Mingxian followed her silently and walked out of the courtyard. He quickly glanced at her again and asked, "Why don't you wait for mom to come back?" Su Zishan smiled and said, "Did my mom borrow money from me? Did I borrow money from my neighbors to buy groceries tonight? How did you know that mom went to borrow money?" "Because I'm smart." "How many days do you plan to stay here?" "Let's talk about getting 1 million. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Don't get drunk, everyone will get drunk. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Don't get drunk, everyone will get drunk. Upon hearing Su Zishan's words, Su Mingxuan's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. That sister searched the house and said that this poor family had caused her a lifetime of waste. This sister's heart is even more fierce, wanting to get 1 million. Su Zishan looked at him walking with his head down, his whole body cold and cold, rejecting people thousands of miles away. He asked him, "Do you not believe that we can make 1 million? Su Mingxian believes you're a ghost. Even if grandma whose son and daughter-in-law work as cadres in the city, earning only over 80 yuan per month, their father is the only one at the grain station, earning a monthly salary of 32 yuan, while their mother runs a sewing shop and earns only 108 yuan per month by processing a few pieces of clothing. 1 million, is this going to dry up my parents' bone oil?" The two walked for 10 minutes and arrived at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, which is a 2-story small building. 3 storefronts, painted on the left and right with 2 lines of large characters, ensuring supply and developing economy. Su Zishan had his first close encounter with the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, which was extremely novel. He scrutinized the furnishings inside. There was a cool smell of soy sauce, vinegar, and pulp cloth in the supply and marketing community, and the salesperson with fried dough twists braid sat lazily on the chair. The shelves are full of goods, including floured cloth, thermos, plastic sandals, sugar bottles, dim sum, etc. After a big turn, she bought Su Yingjie a bottle of Sanlianji liquor and a bag of milk powder. These were luxury items in the town, and very few people bought them. Dust fell on the shelves. The salesperson wiped the outside of the bottle and milk powder bag with a cloth before placing them on the counter. The salesperson saw that she was dressed beautifully and was impressed, so he said, "We have new roasted chicken. Do you want it?" "Yes." "Don't do it." The first sentence was said by Su Zishan, and the last sentence was said by Su Mingxian. Su Zishan smiled and said to the salesperson, "Weigh 1." Seeing that the salesperson had received the money and wrapped it in oil paper, Su Mingxian quickly took it and walked out. "Don't spend any more money," Su Mingxian said to Su Zishan, who was catching up. Put all your money away and spend it when it's important in the future. This is not the Su family in Baodu City. In Su Mingxuan's eyes, Su Zishan is like the spoiled princess who ate today or tomorrow. Su Zishan was holding wine, while Su Mingxian was holding roasted chicken and milk powder. Su Zishan said to Su Mingxian, "There is nothing more important than health in this world. Our father is injured, and eating something nutritious is good too quickly. My legs are fine, I'll save you 1 million, right?" Su Mingxian was slandering, but he didn't say anything. After walking for a while, Su Zishan couldn't help but ask Su Mingxian, "Has my temper always been like that?" With a strange and sharp tone. No, he wasn't like this when he was young. He loved to laugh a lot when he was young. Su Mingxian asked Su Zishan in disgust, "Do you think my little brother is not good?" No, you're all my brothers. I haven't had time to love you yet. How could you not like me? Su Zishan quickly explained, "My goodness, what's wrong with the children now? They are becoming more sensitive and rebellious for so long." When she returned home, Shen Yakin had just finished cooking and tidied up Su Zishan's bed. There were only 2 main rooms in the house, with a makeshift kitchen set up in the hallway. The interior is divided into 2 small rooms with fabric curtains. The innermost room is for Su Zishan to live in, while the outer room is for the brothers Su Mingxian and Su Mingsheng. The one that faces the door is for Su Yingjie and his wife to live in. Su Mingxian felt that the room was hot and made a floor in the yard. Su Mingsheng refused, even though it was too hot, he refused to go out and sleep. "It's hot now, how cool it is to sleep outside. Boys are tough and only grow strong by rolling on the ground." Shen Yakin looked at Su Mingsheng, who had already returned from outside, and said, "You also learn from your brother." Su Mingsheng remained silent, hanging his head and picking at his fingers. Su Zishan smiled and placed the wine on the table, saying with a smile, "Dad, I made you a bottle of wine." Su Yingjie looked at Sanlianji and said with heartache, "Why are you buying such good wine? What a waste. How can we say it's a waste when we drink it ourselves? Come on, Dad, give it a try." The lid was unscrewed, and Su Yingjie was poured a cup. He handed the roasted chicken to Su Mingsheng and said, "Little brother, you can take it apart. You can't finish it, I'm afraid it will spoil tomorrow." Family activities are also team-building activities. Even if you are a family member, you need to master that level of psychology. Everyone has a sense of ownership in order to twist together a rope and stand up the home. Su Mingsheng brought the roasted chicken over and said, "You're running out of money. There's no money at home to compensate you. I volunteered everything, don't worry, I won't ask you to compensate. Also, if you don't have money, go earn it. Our family will definitely live well." "Humph, that sounds good," Su Mingsheng muttered, but his voice was not loud and he had already started to tug at the fried paper wrapping of the roasted chicken. "Have you washed your hands clean?" Su Mingxian asked. "It's clean, take a look. Mom said she's clean and asked me to wash it before I can eat at the table." Su Mingsheng showed Su Mingxian his hand. She refers to Su Zishan. Su Zishan's impression of the Su family has improved by another point. Shen Yakin brought up a large bowl of fermented rice balls and filled each person with a bowl. Su Zishan happily said, "I haven't eaten fermented rice balls for a long time, they smell really fragrant. Sugiyama is back, the whole family is reunited, let's eat round rice balls." Su Yingjie took a sip of wine. "Everyone gets drunk without getting drunk. This wine is really good and warms his heart. Wine brewed round rice balls, round and sweet." Su Mingsheng remained silent this time, lowered his head, and ate a large bowl of round rice balls, as well as a lot of roasted chicken and rice. Su Zishan has tried it in a restaurant before, but it is not as delicious as Shen Yakin's. The wine is sour and sweet, the round rice balls are soft and sticky, and the eggs add to the aroma. It is very delicious and appetizing. Su Yingjie tasted the wine bought by his daughter, feeling both happy and unreal. He wanted to ask Su Zishan how long he could stay here several times, but couldn't say it. He has no ability, leaving his daughter to suffer with him. When he and Shen Yakin tried to persuade Su Zi to stay, Su Zi said, "You have already delayed my life. Do you want to delay my life again? If you want to make your own daughter live a good life, will you exchange my life?" Although he didn't understand when his daughter, who had been raised for 18 years, was so wrongly accused and cursed, his heart was shattered. He pounded his chest and swore to the heavens that he had never done anything to exchange packages. Su Zishan had been watching them hesitantly for a long time. When they had finished eating, he put down his chopsticks and said, "Mom and Dad, since I'm back, I need to make long-term plans. Is Su Xiaoli's workstation still there? I'm going to work." Su Zi used to work as a waiter at a state-owned restaurant in the city. It was Su Yingjie who entrusted a hard relationship and even spent money to obtain this workstation for Su Zi. Su Yingjie and Shen Yakin's faces collapsed, and Su Mingxing said angrily, "She found her biological parents and sold her workstation." Shen Yakin quickly explained to Su Zishan, "Shanshan, we didn't sell it. After she left, I asked and found out that she had already sold the workstation to someone else." Su Mingxing said again, "She sold it for 420 yuan and didn't give a penny to her family. Even her grandparents' coffins have to leave. Grass, it's done exceptionally well." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Kind Neighbor Uncle Hao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Kind neighbor Uncle Hao. Su Zi was mainly unhappy in her heart, feeling that the whole world owed her, otherwise she wouldn't have gone to hell to harm Su Zishan, who was also a victim. Su Zishan looked at Su Yingjie and Shen Yakin feeling embarrassed and uncomfortable, and immediately said, "It's okay. I'm not in a hurry about work. I just came back. Tomorrow, I'll go to my hometown to visit my grandparents first." Su Yingjie particularly agreed, yes, you're back. You should make your grandparents happy." At night, the mountain wind blew by, and the weather was not as hot and dry as during the day. However, there were too many mosquitoes and the buzzing noise made it impossible to sleep. Su Zishan endured not turning on the light and used a large fan to drive mosquitoes out of the mosquito net twice. A sleepless night for a family. Su Zishan silently opened the sheep pen and counted the sheep. 1 black sheep, 1 white sheep, 1 black sheep, 1 white sheep. I estimated that over 2,000 sheep were counted and fell asleep. The next morning, it was already daylight, and those who were supposed to go to school and work in the yard had almost walked. Su Mingxian and Su Mingxing had already gone to school. Su Zishan went out to brush his teeth and met his neighbor, Hao Jianjun, who was about to leave at the well, which was the household at the entrance. "If you need any help in the future, just let me know. Our neighbors are all very harmonious," Hao Jianjun said gently. Hao Jianjun is in his 40s, wearing glasses, a white shirt and black pants. He looks very kind and is the station master of the town bus station. His temperament is clearly that of a scholar. Su Zishan politely said, "Thank you, Uncle Hao." Shen Yakin thought of going to Taoyou village today and said to Hao Jianjun, "Brother Hao, I'm going to her grandpa's house with Yingjie and Shanshan today. I can't come back at noon. Xiao Xian and Xiao Sheng are going to finish school. Please help me bring them to Mantu." As he spoke, he gave Hao Jianjun 20 cents. Hao Jianjun shook his hand and said, "How can I ask for your money? There is leftover food in the cafeteria every day, and I'll bring some back for them." "Thank you, big brother. They're all old neighbors, why are you so polite?" As he spoke, Hao Jianjun packed his things and locked the door, riding his bike to work. Shen Yakin also locked the door and used a cart to pull Su Yingjie and Su Zishan to their hometown. "In addition to my grandparents, there is also an uncle in my hometown who is already married and has 2 sons, one is 10 years old and the other is 5 years old. Grandpa's family has a very close relationship with Su Yingjie, and they often interact with him. Su Yingjie broke his leg, and Uncle Su Yingting and Aunt Shuaimei came to visit him. Grandpa and Grandma borrowed money from Su Yingjie everywhere to treat his illness. This family is very poor, but very friendly. However, when he arrived at Taoyou village, Su Zishan looked at his grandparents and then at his uncle, feeling very surprised. Uncle and Grandpa look like father and son, while Su Yingjie has no resemblance to his grandparents in terms of height and appearance. Su Zishan consciously recognizes the traits of the other party, purely out of professional habits. As an office director, remembering people is a basic skill, and the most recognizable trait of the other party is quickly recognized and saved in her mind at first glance. At this moment, she was thinking that Su Yingjie was either not the biological son of this family, or was it inherited through intergenerational transmission, or was there a genetic mutation? Grandpa and Grandma Su didn't know that Su Zishan was speculating about their parent-child relationship at this time. In the happy and simple introduction by Su Yingjie and Shen Yakin, the old man and the old lady found out that their own granddaughter had finally returned. Grandma Su grabbed Su Zishan's hand and began wiping away her tears. "This is the person from our Su family. Look at this, how similar you are to Yakin. These eyebrows are black and long, like the boss." Auntie said, "That's great. Someone in our team has always told me that my elder brother and sister-in-law look famous and good from all over the country. It's like having a daughter is as black as charcoal." Uncle Su Yingting remained silent, and the family has been burning incense for generations. He only gave birth to a son but not a daughter, and his ancestors have never given birth to an aunt. Su Zi was the first girl in the family. The Su family doted on her from top to bottom, pampered her for 18 years, found her biological parents, swept away the family, and falsely accused them of intentionally holding her wrong, delaying her life for the sake of her biological daughter's enjoyment. Heartbreaking, Grandpa Su's face has been black for 6 months. Everyone sat together and spoke, while Su Zishan kept smiling. When they talked and asked her, she would just say a few words without asking or interrupting. "Shanshan, have you met Xiaoli before?" Grandma Su asked tentatively, "How many days can you stay here?" Su Zishan is very familiar with Grandma Su's thoughts. While giving Grandma Su a reassuring pill, she also calmly expressed her attitude. "Su Xiaoli has changed her name to Su Zi, and my adoptive mother's family is treating her well," Su Zishan said with a shallow smile. Her expression was very calm, and there was no sign of dissatisfaction with Su Zi. She also did not mention Su Zi's design of framing or anything that snatched her away. Su Zi emptied his family and went to the Su family in Baodu City without hesitation. However, the Su family was too kind and deeply emotional, and they would not hate Su Zi. They would only feel ashamed of their lack of ability. If Su Zishan plays a copy of Su Zi now, not only will he not receive sympathy and support, but he will also attract resentment. But asking her to praise Su Zi is impossible. Sure enough, when this sentence came out, Grandpa and Grandma Su, including Shen Yakin, were all chatting up. Auntie said straightforwardly, "Let her do whatever she wants. She used to bully these brothers all day. Such a heartless person is not uncommon in our Su family." Grandpa Su blacked his face and remained dull for a while before saying to Su Yingjie and Shen Yakin, "Boss, Xiaoli can live well and we can rest assured. We have raised her for 18 years, and her parents have also raised us Shanshan for 18 years. Let's forget about her. Don't mention her again in the future." Su Zishan nodded secretly. With Grandpa Su's words, she felt relieved. She didn't want to provoke Su Zi, but if Su Zi messed with her, she would definitely fight back. She just hopes that Grandpa Su and Dad Su have a stance. Su Yingjie glanced at Su Zishan and said with shame, "It's just that Shanshan is going to suffer with his family." Su Zishan said solemnly, "Dad, don't say that. What is bitter and what is sweet? Some elders listen to you being coquettish, some brothers share happiness, some mothers cook meals when hungry, some fathers wave their fists when bullied. Is there anything sweeter than this? Grandpa Su said happily. My granddaughter said, well, this is the child of my old Su family. Su Yingjie's eyes turned red with excitement. Having a daughter is truly blissful. They chatted and Su Zishan finally found out that his grandfather was the secretary of the Taoyou Brigade. He used to serve in the army in the north, but because Su's grandmother was not used to living in the north, he changed jobs and returned to his hometown to work at the grain station. When Su Yingjie was 18 years old, his grandfather retired from the grain station and made Su Yingjie take on the job. He returned to the brigade and became the brigade secretary, leading the entire brigade in production. Su Yingting killed one of the hens raised at home and said to Grandpa Su, Dad, I'm going to the reservoir to get a fish. You ask them to keep an account. Su Yingting responded and was about to leave when he saw two young people shouting at the door, Secretary Su, have you eaten yet? Su Zishan was sitting opposite the door in the hall, and saw two young men at the outer gate. Although they were also muddy, they looked a bit bookish, and one of them was still wearing a watch. End of this chapter.